You are staring at a glowing screen on a quiet Sunday morning. The coffee in your mug has gone cold, but you do not notice. The only thing that exists in this room right now is a string of digits on your bank portal. $34,700. Your pulse drops into your stomach. 2 years, 7 months, and 14 days ago, that exact same screen displayed $983,400. You blink, hoping the pixels will rearrange themselves, but the zeros do not return. The money is gone. You did not buy a yacht. You did not gamble it away in a neon-lit casino. You did not fund a lavish, self-destructive bender. You lost a fortune doing exactly what you thought was the right thing. You helped the woman who gave birth to you. You invested in your own brother's dream. You upgraded your life because you believed you finally deserved safety and comfort. You made decisions that felt deeply responsible, even virtuous in the moment. Yet the math remains brutally indifferent to your good intentions. How does nearly $1 million vanish into thin air without making a sound? Who do you become when the financial armor you never earned is suddenly stripped away, leaving you with nothing but the devastating clarity of your own terrible choices? The answer is hiding in the terrifying silence of your monthly bank statements. This is exactly how you slowly dismantle a life completely. The attorney's name is Grayson. He sits behind a heavy mahogany desk in an office with a window that faces a dull concrete parking garage. He slides a thick legal document across the polished surface and tells you, in a voice completely devoid of emotion, to sign on page 4. You sign. He hands you a certified copy of a trust transfer. Your grandmother's name is printed on the front in stark black ink. She died exactly 11 days ago. You had not spoken to her in 3 years. The estrangement was mutual, quiet, and never officially declared by either of you. Neither of you ever formally acknowledged the distance. Now, sitting in this cold room, it does not matter. What matters is the specific number typed on line 7, $1,047,000. After estate taxes and attorney fees are deducted, a net total of $983,400 lands in an account with your name on it. You leave the building and drive home in a 2014 Honda Civic. It has a cracked dashboard and a passenger side window that refuses to seal completely, letting in a continuous low whistle of wind. You think about that massive number the entire way back to your apartment. You do not turn on the radio. The silence is heavy. The wire transfer officially arrives on a Wednesday afternoon. You check the balance twice, then close the browser and log in a third time just to be absolutely sure. The zeros do not move. They stare back at you, permanent and real. You are 34 years old. You make $61,000 a year managing inventory for a regional distributor. You have exactly $11,200 in a basic savings account and $29,000 in a retirement fund that you rarely ever think about. You also have $18,700 in high-interest credit card debt and precisely $214 left in your regular checking account until your next payday. And right now, suddenly you have $983,400 sitting in a checking account earning almost 0% interest. The juxtaposition of these two realities is not exciting. It is deeply disorienting in a way you did not anticipate. It feels exactly like walking into your own living room, only to find that someone has moved every single piece of furniture exactly 2 inches to the left. Everything looks exactly the same, but absolutely nothing feels right anymore. You tell yourself, firmly and out loud, that you will not make any financial moves for at least 60 days. You read this specific advice on a financial forum online. It is the objectively correct advice. You hold on to this strict discipline for exactly 19 days. You hold on to your strict discipline for exactly 19 days. On the 20th day, a Tuesday afternoon, you find yourself standing on the immaculate asphalt of a luxury auto dealership. You did not plan this visit. You told yourself as you drove your aging Civic onto the lot that you were merely browsing, just gathering information. The car that catches your eye is a Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, painted in a deep, flawless metallic gray. The dealership salesman, a man with a perfectly tailored suit and a practiced smile, refers to it exclusively as certified pre-owned. It is exactly 14 months old. The digital odometer reads precisely 9,400 miles. You sit in the driver's seat. The pristine leather interior smells intoxicatingly expensive. There's no cracked dashboard to stare at. When you pull the door shut, it closes with a heavy, solid thud that completely seals out the ambient noise of the nearby highway. You are suddenly encased in total, silent luxury. The sticker price displayed boldly on the windshield is $58,900. You sit down in the glass-walled office and negotiate. You push back on the redundant extended warranties. and the exorbitant dealership preparation fees, you eventually agree on a final out the door price of $54,200. Walking away from the desk, you actually feel a surge of pride. You feel incredibly disciplined. You did not pay full price, you played the game and won. The internal mental gymnastics begin immediately. You tell yourself repeatedly and with great conviction that this is a purely practical decision. You have been driving a decade-old car with a window that aggressively whistles at highway speeds. That is fundamentally unreliable. You convince yourself it is an acute safety hazard. You are 34 years old. You deserve a vehicle that will not leave you stranded on the side of the interstate during a winter storm. This purchase is absolutely not an extravagance. It is a highly responsible investment in your own personal safety and peace of mind. You write the check. As you slide the paper across the desk to the finance manager, it does not even register as money yet. The sheer gravity of spending 54 grand on a rapidly depreciating asset completely bypasses your rational brain. Instead, handing over that check feels like handing over a tangible piece of permission. Permission to finally step out of the waiting room and into the life you have quietly believed you were always meant for. You drive off the lot, gripping the leather steering wheel. The psychological transition is completely seamless. By the time you park the SUV in your apartment complex, the new identity of a man who drives a luxury vehicle has already firmly grafted itself onto your psyche. Your bank balance drops and becomes $929,200. You do not log into the portal to track this specific deduction consciously. You look at the shining car in your assigned parking spot instead. You absolutely should have looked at the numbers. Your mother calls you on a Sunday evening. She tells you she has a situation. Your younger brother has a situation too, although they are two entirely different situations presented to you in a single, emotionally exhausting phone call. Your mother explains that she needs exactly $22,000 to avoid an imminent bank foreclosure on her house. Her voice is tight, hitting a familiar octave of panic that you have heard repeatedly since your childhood. She explicitly does not call this financial request a gift. She refers to it with a fragile and defensive dignity as a temporary loan. You know the brutal truth. You have never, not once in your entire 34 years of life, seen your mother actually repay a loan to anyone. You know this historical fact with absolute certainty. Yet the heavy weight of your newfound wealth sits uncomfortably on your chest. You ask yourself how you can possibly sit comfortably in the pristine leather seats of a brand new luxury vehicle while the woman who raised you loses her home. The guilt is instantaneous, blinding, and completely paralyzing. You do not ask for financial statements or a plan. You simply write the check. For your brother, the situation is slightly different, but equally urgent. It is a demand for exactly $15,000 to settle a court judgment stemming from a lawsuit involving a poorly planned business venture that no longer even exists. He explains the profound injustice of the legal system over the phone, skillfully painting himself as the unfortunate victim of circumstances entirely beyond his control. You desperately want to be the savior. You want to be the successful, benevolent sibling who can effortlessly fix complex problems with a single magical stroke of a pen. You open your banking application and wire the money directly into his account. The combined total of $37,000 leaves your possession without any formal ceremony whatsoever. There's absolutely no legal paperwork drafted. There's no serious conversation about a realistic timeline for repayment. There are no boundaries established for the future. You simply transfer the massive funds and absorb their life crises as your own. You stare at the digital confirmation screens, desperately justifying the quiet, sudden drain on your grandmother's inheritance. You tell yourself with a deeply forced sense of nobility that protecting family is the entire point of having money in the first place. You genuinely believe that. The remaining balance drops to exactly $892,200. You feel incredibly good about who you are as a human being for approximately 6 days. The lease on your modest one-bedroom apartment officially expires in early March. For the past 4 consecutive years, you have paid exactly $1,100 a month to live in that specific space. It has notoriously paper-thin walls that let in the neighbor's television noise and a cramped parking spot that costs an additional monthly fee. A colleague from the office casually mentions a brand new luxury complex located on the north side of the city. It features 2 spacious bedrooms, highly convenient in-unit laundry, and secure underground parking. The monthly rent is $2,650. You decide to tour the model unit on a bright Thursday afternoon. The kitchen boasts flawless white quartz countertops and gleaming stainless steel appliances. You sign the binding lease agreement that exact same week. It is nearly 3 times what you were previously paying, but you casually tell yourself that you can easily afford it now. That specific piece of internal logic is the very first place where something goes quietly and fundamentally wrong. Affording a physical thing and that thing being the correct financial choice are two entirely different mathematical calculations. You do not make this vital distinction, you move into the new unit. Your old mismatched furniture looks completely absurd in the elevated space. You immediately buy new furniture to match the upscale aesthetic of the apartment. You drop exactly $14,800 at a place that pretentiously calls itself a bespoke design studio rather than a standard furniture store. The remaining bank balance becomes $877,400. You finally stop checking the account on a daily basis. Your new lifestyle has developed a powerful center of gravity now. It begins to inevitably pull absolutely everything toward it. People you only knew casually suddenly become much closer friends. People you knew well begin appearing with ambitious business proposals. A friend from your college days magically surfaces after 4 entire years of total radio silence. He is building a revolutionary new software application. He confidently explains that he desperately needs exactly $40,000 to bridge his startup company to a massive Series A funding round. He presents a highly professional, beautifully designed pitch deck. The core business idea actually sounds remarkably reasonable. The bridge loan he passionately promises over expensive coffee will automatically convert to company equity at a steep discount the moment the funding round officially closes. You write him a check for the $40,000. The promised funding round never actually closes. The software application still exists somewhere in the vast, forgotten graveyard of the internet. The money, however, absolutely does not. The bank balance silently drops to $837,400. You do not tell a single living soul about the failed application investment. Meanwhile, your entire social life is rapidly restructuring itself around your completely new financial capacity. Dinners out at restaurants cost significantly more now. You casually pick up the expensive checks for the entire table. You instinctively book the significantly nicer hotel rooms on group weekend trips. You happily pay up front for the massive Airbnb house that everyone verbally promises to split, and then somehow, conveniently, nobody ever actually remembers to split. You are absolutely not keeping a running number on this continuous daily leakage. That is the true underlying problem. You are currently spending between $6,000 and $8,000 every single month on basic living costs that were merely $2,200 just 11 short months ago. The massive financial difference is completely silent. No single purchase loudly announces itself as the fatal problem. Every individual spending decision feels entirely proportionate and justified in the moment. Together, they are an absolute, unmitigated catastrophe. 14 months after the wire transfer officially cleared, you log into the banking portal. The balance is precisely $704,000. You calculate the total depletion for the very first time since buying the Mercedes. The number genuinely surprises you. You spend an entire Saturday afternoon frantically reviewing monthly statements and eventually convince yourself that everything is perfectly fine. You still have $704,000. That is still an undeniably large sum of money. This specific comforting piece of logic is exactly what will ultimately cost you absolutely everything. Your brother calls again, this time with a fully formed business idea. He wants to launch a specialized food truck. He has a trendy concept, a tentative location, and a used commercial truck he found online for $28,000. He boldly claims he needs $60,000 in total capital to successfully launch the operation. You apply your new identity as a savvy businessman and negotiate him down to exactly $50,000. You feel incredibly good about this negotiation. You wire the $50,000 and take a 30% ownership stake based entirely on a verbal handshake over beers. There's absolutely no formal operating agreement drafted. There's no official LLC structure filed with the state. There's no legal documentation of any kind. 6 short weeks later, the used truck develops catastrophic mechanical issues that cost exactly $11,000 to repair. Your brother calls in a panic. The necessary repairs conveniently not covered in the original $50,000 budget. You reluctantly wire another $8,000. You desperately tell yourself that you are merely protecting your initial, highly promising investment. The bank balance silently drops to $646,000. Then, the real business supposedly starts moving. It is not your brother's food truck, which is already losing money quietly every single operating day. It is a completely different venture, a massive self-storage facility located 3 hours south of the city. You get pitched by a contact you casually met at a high-end dinner through someone who knows someone else. The proposed deal is perfectly structured to sound exclusive and lucrative. $120,000 buys you a solid 20% equity position in a facility boasting 340 units at 71% current occupancy. The glossy pitch deck shows aggressive projections, reaching 88% occupancy in just 18 months. The promised cash on cash return at stabilization is an incredibly attractive 14%. You do not verify the occupancy numbers independently. You do not hire a specialized real estate attorney to thoroughly review the dense operating agreement. You simply wire the $120,000. The balance outside of any investments is now dangerously low at $308,000. This is the exact moment the overall financial situation becomes critically structural. You have officially moved past making simple, isolated, poor financial decisions. You have now actively built a poor financial architecture. Your remaining liquid cash simply cannot absorb another massive mistake. Now you finally decide to seek professional help. You find a financial advisor. You absolutely should have found one on day one when the massive wire first arrived. Instead, you find one on month 16, driven by a quiet, rising panic that you actively refuse to acknowledge. He works out of a gleaming glass office downtown and wears a tailored suit that costs more than your first car. He is explicitly not a fiduciary. You do not ask if he is a fiduciary because you do not know enough about high-level finance to even know that specific word exists. He speaks smoothly and confidently about complex market trends, asset allocation, and long-term wealth preservation. He highly recommends a dense portfolio of actively managed mutual funds carrying a staggering average expense ratio of 1.4%. He also strongly recommends a massive whole life insurance policy that he solemnly promises will quietly build substantial cash value over time. You are desperately looking for an adult in the room to take control of the chaos. You wire $200,000 directly into the mutual fund portfolio. You drop an additional $18,000 to cover the first full year of the insurance premium. As you sign the heavy stack of finalized paperwork, a massive wave of profound relief washes over you. For the absolute first time since the inheritance wire originally arrived, you genuinely feel like you are being a highly responsible, mature adult. You feel entirely secure. The brutal reality is far different. The remaining balance in your liquid checking account, outside of these new heavily fee-burdened investments, plummets to exactly $90,000. The predator in the expensive suit just legally extracted a massive chunk of your remaining lifeline, and you actually shook his hand and thanked him for the privilege. By month 22, the carefully constructed financial architecture finally collapses entirely. The brutal news arrives in a devastating, concentrated avalanche. You receive a formal legal letter in the mail stating the massive self-storage facility has officially filed for receivership. Your projected financial recovery is estimated at a pathetic 11 cents on the dollar. A week later, your brother calls with a genuine but completely useless apology. The ambitious food truck business is permanently closed. The bank repossessed the actual truck, and your entire 30% equity stake is now worth absolutely nothing. Simultaneously, the heavily fee-burdened mutual fund portfolio has declined sharply due to global market volatility. Your supposedly safe $200,000 investment is currently sitting at exactly $172,000. The massive, undeniable reality finally hits you. You are aggressively spending over $7,000 every single month to maintain this luxurious illusion, while your actual corporate job only pays $5,000 a month before taxes. The theoretical financial cushion is completely gone. In a state of quiet panic, you break your expensive apartment lease. You desperately sell your bespoke design studio furniture on Facebook Marketplace for a massive loss. Liquidity is not wealth. A number in a checking account is absolutely not a reliable plan. The most profound lesson is that money measures your cold decisions, not your warm intentions. Lifestyle inflation is the quietest destroyer because it never announces a single catastrophic mistake. It just silently raises your baseline until the entire baseline becomes financially unsustainable. Looking ahead, this brutal cycle will inevitably repeat itself. Tomorrow, someone else will inherit a massive fortune and slowly lose it in the exact same reasonable, completely virtuous ways. The hardest part is not losing the money, but understanding exactly who you are when the financial armor is entirely stripped away. Are you truly prepared for the devastating clarity of sudden wealth? What would you actually do differently if $1 million quietly landed in your personal checking account today? We want to carefully read your unique perspective. Please share your honest thoughts and personal financial experiences in the comments section down below. If you found valuable insight in this harsh reality check, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with someone who desperately needs to hear the truth. Your exact future choices dictate your absolute financial survival,